My name is Lorraine May Dubois, and I am 91 years old. I have lived through hurricanes, heartbreaks, and whole decades of quiet routine. But nothing, not even time, ever washed away the memory of the boy I met on a riverboat in the summer of 1953. I was 19 then, living in Baton Rouge with my aunt, who believed a girl's future depended entirely on the man she married. She ensured I attended all the right gatherings, wore the right dresses, smiled at the right men. But I felt like a song played in the wrong key. That July, my aunt insisted we attend the annual Mississippi River Cruise, a moonlit jazz ride meant for polite socializing. The women wore bright dresses, the men wore pressed shirts. The riverboat glowed with lanterns that danced across the dark water. I stepped aboard feeling trapped in lace. Then I saw him. He wasn't dressed like the others, no pressed collar, no polished shoes. He wore a simple white shirt rolled at the sleeves, trousers worn thin at the knees, and a small rope bracelet around his wrist. He was carrying crates near the deck, a worker. But when he looked up, his eyes, warm, brown, steady, gentle, met mine and held a moment longer than polite. He nodded respectfully. I felt electricity skitter across my skin. Later that night, as jazz drifted through the decks, I stepped out onto the railing to breathe. Lanterns floated on the river like tiny captured stars. "You look like you're trying to escape," a soft voice said behind me. I turned. It was him. "I just needed air," I said. He smiled. "Me too, though I'm not really supposed to be here." I raised a brow. "Then why are you?" He shrugged. "Something told me to come up." Something or someone. He offered his name. Caleb. I repeated it. It felt warm on my tongue. We talked quietly in the shadows of the deck. He told me he'd been working riverboats since he was 16, sending money home to support his mother and younger siblings. "It ain't better I'm going to pretend I'm somebody important," he said, smiling shyly. "I'm just trying to keep my family afloat." His honesty struck me like a bell. "No one talks like that at the parties I go to," I whispered. "And do you like those men?" he asked. "No," I said, feeling the truth spill out. "I don't think I've ever liked any of them." Caleb leaned closer, voice soft. "So, who do you like?" I swallowed. "You." The night seemed to pause for us. From that evening on, every time the riverboat docked, Caleb and I found each other, even if just for a few minutes. We walked along the riverbank barefoot. He told me stories of his siblings, of the trouble they'd get into, of the pride he felt being the one they relied on. I told him about my aunt's expectations, my loneliness, my longing for a life that felt like mine. "You make me feel seen," I told him. "You make me feel worth seeing." Our worlds were different, but our hearts weren't. One night, during a particularly warm August evening, we sat at the edge of the dock, legs dangling above the water. "I need to tell you something," he said, voice low. "My brothers are getting older. They need me less. I could leave the river." I looked at him, breath unsteady. "What are you saying?" He took my hand. "I'm saying, if you wanted me to, I would stay here for you." My heart nearly burst. But reality's cruel. The next day, my aunt confronted me. "You have been seen walking with that river boy," she hissed. "Do you want to shame this family? Do you want to throw away your future? He is kind. He works hard. He loves his family. He is beneath you." Those words struck like a whip. You see, in 1953 Louisiana, a young woman's future wasn't hers alone. It belonged to her family's reputation. My aunt locked the doors, took my dresses, wrote a letter to Caleb forbidding him from seeing me. But she never sent it. She burned it in front of me. "You will forget him," she ordered. But I never did. Caleb came looking for me the next evening. My aunt told him I was indisposed and no longer interested. I watched from behind the curtains as he stood on our porch, hope fading slowly from his eyes. He turned away. I pressed my forehead to the window and cried silently as he walked back toward the river. I never got to say goodbye. By the time I escaped the house the next morning, his riverboat had already left. All that remained was the faint sound of jazz drifting down the river. Life went on. I married a good man eventually. We raised children. We built something stable. But some summers, the important ones, never truly end. Every time I passed the Mississippi River, I looked for floating lanterns. I looked for a boy in a white rolled-sleeved shirt. I looked for the version of myself who loved freely, without permission. Then, 40 years later, at a small antique market, I found a rope bracelet, identical to Caleb's. The vendor said, "A riverboat worker made those decades ago. Sweet boy, hard life, died young, but kindest soul you'd ever meet." My knees weakened. I held the bracelet to my chest and whispered into the past, "I never forgot you." If I could speak to the girl I was at 19, sitting barefoot on the riverbank beside the boy she loved, I would tell her, "Your worlds were different. Your hearts were perfect. Some people are not meant to stay, but they will live in you forever." That is my story, the story of the riverboat boy who gave me one unforgettable summer and a love that never drifted away.